I was discussing that the new additions with respect to the leading cases for the present AOR examination around 2025. I have broadly separated them into three areas. One is commercial disputes and cryptocurrencies, commercial disputes. Another is privacy, right to privacy, right to personal liberty. Two areas. Privacy, personal liberty, in terms of social plane, in terms of individual relationship, man-woman relationship, societal relationship, marriage. This is one part, very important part. Decriminalization of adultery, nullification of the talaq. These are areas, honor killing. These are areas of public offences that concern the individual liberty, and that too very extremely personal, marital, sexual choices. Navtej Johar, the Union of India, these are sexual choices of individual. These are private choices, and the general attitude, the general judicial feeling, rationale is that unless these private rights in any manner or in some manner affect public law or affect the social fabric in such a manner as to give rise to public offence, there cannot be punishment of individual private choices. It is disproportionate, it is arbitrary, and it is unfair for the society to stigmatize individual choices, private choices that are best left for regulation by itself. Two main judgments with respect to private choices of individuals, as made by Supreme Court, as made by Lordship Justice Deepak Mishra, are very important. One is Joseph Schein, and another is this judgment with respect to Shakti Vahini. And third is judgment with respect to Shaira Banu. These are three judgments which have a great implication on individual choices, gender equality, and right to marriage, right to dignity in marriage, right to dignity in sexual choices, and we shall go one by one. In Shaira Banu versus Union of India, this was a marriage that was solemnized in Allahabad, and two children were born out of the wedlock, and there was a divorce, talaq, that was pronounced, and whether the particular talaq as pronounced by the individual husband is capable of being upheld by the law, and this was what was discussed, and whether it would not be arbitrary, because talaq has no chance of providing a mechanism by which the couple can redress their differences later, even though talaq is pronounced. After that, whether there is a equal mechanism for rapprochement between the couple, this was analyzed by the court, and even though it is personal law and it is as part of statute, this particular talaq was held as arbitrary because it did not give equal chance to the couple, especially the woman in question, and there was no manner in which a marriage could be retrieved or redeemed. And in view of this arbitrariness, this talaq-e-bid'at was held as constitutionally perverse and arbitrary and could not be sustained by the court. So this is the judgment with respect to Shaira Banu. And with respect to Joseph Schein, this was a case which was the stigma that was attached with adultery as described in the IPC. Whether adultery is a crime, and when a private wrong or ethical wrong can have the making of a crime. This was discussed length by Justice Deepak Mishra, and it was held that private choices, individual choices, choices of sexual promiscuity or choices of sexual what to say liberty, these could not be criminalized, and blanket criminalization of such individual sexual choices cannot be made unless it has a profound impact on the society as a whole. A private relationship and a breach of a private relationship can be redressed by way of divorce, and it cannot be a public wrong by any manner, because it is an individual choice and it is between two persons, and the society as a whole has nothing to do with it, or cannot be seen to be affected deeply or in such a manner as to criminalize it. So this was the judgment which led to the decriminalization of adultery as defined in the IPC by the Supreme Court, on the plank of liberty, individual liberty, individuality, right to individuality, right to individual liberty, and right to have sexual freedom, and right to have choices in marriage, and how it can be redressed, whether the choices in or out of a particular marital wedlock and the break of it could go to the extent of criminalizing it. And the answer was it could not, as no public offense or public wrong could be done by that particular alleged seemingly moral choice. So this was a very thought-provoking and futuristic judgment of the Supreme Court, and with respect to Article 21, very close to Article 21. And next one we will be discussing is Shakti Vahini. This is a leading case that is prescribed. This is with respect to the Kap Panchayats. You see across Haryana and Rajasthan and UP, Western UP, you find the Kap Panchayats, and this matter was pending in the Supreme Court for the last 10 years, from 2010. Finally, after so much time, Supreme Court finally decided with respect to the Kap Panchayats that they are illegal, and district-wise, state-wise, national-wise action plan was recommended as prayed for in the petition by the Supreme Court to control these Kap Panchayats, to prevent such forcible prohibition of marriages by public demand in the name of public justice that had no backing of the law, but of private cops or arbitration councils. So this was decided by the Supreme Court, and these were with respect to the right to privacy and personal liberty. And the matter of Ashwini Kumar versus Union of India, this was the matter with respect to treatment of senior citizens, their right to live with dignity, geriatric care, old age care given by state governments, pensions schemes that are proposed by state governments, monitoring of pension schemes, monitoring of geriatric care facilities by the Government of India as well as the states across India, monitored by the Supreme Court. And in general, it was the upholding of the right of senior citizens to live with dignity, and live with dignity to mean with proper health care, proper pension schemes as professed by Government of India schemes, and right to dignity of life, right to respect in society, right to financial schemes that are floated by the government, and monitoring of the old age facilities that are granted for senior citizens across India. So this is a continuing mandamus that Supreme Court was glad to entertain, and the petitioner was senior advocate of Supreme Court as well as the former law minister of India, Mr. Ashwini Kumar Bharadwaj. And this is also a very important judgment of the Supreme Court with respect to right to personal liberty, right to live with dignity. And next judgment in this particular bracket of judgments which are being introduced is Navtej Johar versus Union of India. There was a decriminalization of adultery, then Second, there was decriminalization of unnatural offences. Certain parts of it. Unnatural offences have not been totally decriminalized. However, between consulting individuals, man, woman, woman, where they are consulting, individuals, they consult. It is a commonly shared act of love or physical intimacy that was not capable of being criminalized, and making it criminalized would be unconstitutional. However, where the question of consent was missing in a particular relationship of man, homosexual, LGBT, transsexual, it encompassed a wide range of love between humans. However, animal sex, man, animal, that kind of relationship was not upheld. It was a criminal act, and the Supreme Court had not struck it down. However, insofar as between consenting individuals, the relationship, sexual relationship, that is across genders, within genders or across genders, that was upheld. You see, because there is consent and it's a individual choice, and it cannot be stigmatized or decriminalized. It was a great success for the LGBT community, the transsexual people, and the lesbians and the homosexuals whose sexual orientation was not accepted by the majority community, by the majority society or the mainstream society. But Supreme Court, however, interfered and held that criminalizing a particular relationship, a particular individual choice, in as much as it was a consenting relationship, would be unconstitutional, and it left open the criminality as upheld in 377 from the earlier times, that is man animal or man woman, man woman without consent. These were subject matter of criminal interpretation and penal provisions. This was a judgment in Navtej Johar, which was also cited as a great development for the personal liberty and right to personal sexual choices that is within right to life as enshrined in Article 21. This was a very important judgment. So these were important judgments. Another important judgment in personal liberty and individual freedom is the judgment of Sushila Agarwal. See, there was great confusion in respect to the manner in which anticipatory bails under section 438 were granted. There is a regular bail provision and there is anticipatory bail. For example, in states like Uttar Pradesh, this section is not available. However, across high courts, there is confusion in constructing the liberty as available under anticipatory bail. And there was confusion in two aspects. One is, if the anticipatory bail is granted, what is the time frame in which it will continue to survive? There were two versions. The time frame, according to one version, is it will continue to survive till the person goes to the court of jurisdiction and seeks regular bail and gets or fails. Second is, the anticipatory bail would operate and is valid till the court summons him in that particular case, in which case the anticipatory bail automatically ceases. So there were these two interpretations, and there was a discussion by the Supreme Court as to whether there can be a reasonable time frame within which the anticipatory bail can set to operate. After much discussions, the Supreme Court held that it should be on a case-to-case basis, court-to-court basis, on the circumstances of the case, and it can never be a hard and fast rule. And even though there is individual liberty, the jail is the exception, bail is the rule, all these things are there, but still individual liberty is subject to just exceptions of public order, law and order, health, and also you see the manner of offences, the nature of offences, the periodicity and repeat of offences, whether he is a repeat offender, what is a criminal background, all these things cannot be wished away. So it is not right to commit further crimes. It is not some escape route from a crime. It is merely right against curtailment of personal liberty, right against curtailment of personal liberty, and right to be remanded to jail without proper inquiry or without appreciation of the case in hand. So it need not or it cannot be construed as any blanket right for committing crime or justification for committing crime, and it continues to be used by the courts across India on case to case basis, and that is what is discussed in our Sushila Agarwal's case. The next we are going to cases with Supreme Court with respect to personal liberty and right to privacy. What if they conflict? When it can be upheld? Right to privacy or right to know. These are things which are very closely related. Both have to be upheld. At the same time, both cannot be denied. So, this was discussed by the Supreme Court in the matter of CPIO versus S.C. Agarwal. S.C. Agarwal was a RTI, famous RTI activist, very renowned RTI activist, and he has filed several petitions under the RTI Act seeking probity in public life, transparency in public life, and one of the petitions was filed with the Central Public Information Officer, Supreme Court itself. It was connected with the Raghupati case, wherein there was one union minister who threatened him, and the High Court judge openly went to the press, and it became a matter of great public concern at that particular time. And he wanted to know about the communication that happened between the Supreme Court Chief Justice and the Collegium and the assets of the Supreme Court judges, and any communication between the Collegium regarding appointment of judges or other things. So the question was whether the CPIO, the Public Information Officer, could withhold such information from the petitioner. And the High Court of Delhi as well as the Supreme Court held that right to transparency, right to know, are inalienable rights of the citizen, because in times of probity in public life and honesty in public office, which the RTA promotes and the Supreme Court promotes, there is no question of withholding information from the public, especially with respect to transparency of functioning of institutions. However, it shall not go to such extent as it tampers with the personal liberty and private matters of privacy of individual life of judges, and there is a balance to be struck between these two things. And Supreme Court upheld the right to know of the petitioner, Mr. Agarwal, and announced that the assets of judges and other communication should be placed in the website and should be available in public domain. And the Supreme Court itself is subject to public scrutiny by way of RTA. So this was also a great judgment with respect to the transparency and right to know and right to subject oneself to scrutiny for efficient functioning. So this can be interpreted as a positive step and a great bolster to RTA. So these were some of the main judgments of the Supreme Court that are now referred to by the new AOR examination committee for the leading cases, and I wish all the best.